I wonder what we'll learn from Seneca today. Hopefully we're not chopping off our own limbs.
Cut off your head to spite your face. Rock on!
Let's
Woo!
yeah, let's get through this. Okay, so we're now on section 16. Seneca's on anger. Yay!
Right.
We do not, therefore, need an angry chastiser to punish the erring and wicked. For since anger is a crime of the mind, it is not right that sin should be punished by sin. What? Am I not to be angry with a robber or a poisoner? No, for I am not angry with myself when I bleed myself. Once again, old times, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I apply all kinds of punishment as remedies. You are, as yet, only in the first stage of error, and do not go wrong seriously. Although you do so often, then I will try to amend you by reprimand given first in private and then in public. I mean, that's a lesson in itself, right?
It is. Right.
If you have someone that you care about, or just people you know, talk to them in private before you start dissing them in public.
Or if you're going to start with them in private, don't finish it in public if you're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Or if you're not, just let it the hell go. Let it go. Let it go. Jesus. Anyway. All right.
Speaking of letting it go, kitty cat, stop that. Anyway. Down.
You again have gone too far to be restored to virtue by words alone. You must be kept in order by disgrace. For the next, some stronger measure is required. Something that he can feel must be branded upon you, or upon him. You, sir, shall be sent into exile and to a desert place. The next man's thorough villainy needs harsher remedies. Chains and public imprisonment shall be applied to him. You, lastly, have an incurably vicious mind, and add crime to crime. You have come to such a pass that you are not influenced by the arguments which you are never wanting to recommend evil, but sin itself is to you a sufficient reason for sinning. You have so steeped your whole heart in wickedness that wickedness cannot be taken from you without bringing your heart with it. Wretched man, you have long sought to die. We will do you good service. We will take away that madness from which you suffer. And to you, who have long lived a misery to yourself and to others, we will give the only good thing which remains, that is death. Why should I be angry with a man just when I am doing him good? Sometimes the truest form of compassion is to put a man to death. If I were a spirit... Yeah, that's a bit much. But I mean, it depends, right? I mean,
there is the argument, and I think that surrounds part of the issue surrounding the death penalty.
Yes.
Is it kinder to put someone with no hope of freedom, future, autonomy, anything, to death because they're never getting out?
Yeah, but also, he highlights that you try to correct sin with sin. It always puzzled me that why are we telling people that murder is wrong by murdering them?
Oh, now you're just making sense. You stop that, you silly little thing. I'm gonna have to talk about Matt about giving you a spanking.
Oh.
Anyway.
I mean, that would be kind of a punishment I would like. But anyway, no. But seriously though, it makes no sense.
It doesn't.
If you're mad at somebody because they did something wrong, then why would you bring yourself down to that level? I mean, it's just kind of a lot of the stuff that Seneca puts forth, and the Stoics in general, is kind of common sense, but as we well know, common sense is not all that common, right?
Common sense only exists in a population where people have similar backgrounds and similar experience. It's like the concept of what's normal. What's normal is usually found within a population. It's not necessarily normal. It's
Right.
culturally acceptable. It's et cetera, et cetera. It's yeah, that.
Well, when I think of the term normal, usually I equate it to something like average, right? And
Right.
if you're looking at averages, then yes, of course, it's going to be what you gain from the populace. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I were a skilled and learned physician and were to enter a hospital or a rich man's house, I should not have prescribed the same treatment for all the patients who were suffering from various diseases. I see different kinds of vice in the vast number of different minds, and am called in to heal the whole body of citizens. Let us seek for the remedies proper for each disease. So, yay, some nuance, right? I mean, he's finally getting to the nuance.
That's a difficult thing.
I know, right? This man may be cured by his own sense of humor, that one by travel, that one by pain, that one by want, that one by the sword. If, therefore, it becomes my duty as a magistrate to put on black robes and summon an assembly by the sound of a trumpet, I shall walk to the seat of judgment, not in rage or hostile spirit, but with the countenance of a judge. I shall pronounce the formal sentence in a grave and gentle rather than furious voice, and shall bid them proceed sternly, yet not angrily. It's kind of he's kind of just saying, I don't go out there enraged. I go out there kind of clinically, right?
Right.
Even when I command a criminal to be beheaded, when I sew a barricade up in a sack, when I send a man to be punished by military law, when I fling a traitor or public enemy down the Tarpeian rock, I shall be free from anger, and shall look and feel just as though I were crushing snakes and other venomous creatures. Anger is necessary to enable us to punish. What? Do you think that the law is angry with men whom it does not know, whom it's never seen, who hopes it will never exist? We ought, therefore, to adopt the law's frame of mind, which does not become angry, but merely defines offenses. For, if it is right for a good man to be angry at wicked crimes, it will also be right for him to be moved with envy at the prosperity of wicked men. What indeed is more scandalous than that, in some cases, the very men whose deserts no fortune could be found bad enough to flourish and actually be the spoiled children of success? Yet he will see their affluence without envy, just as he sees their crimes without anger. A good judge condemns wrongful acts, but does not hate them. Interesting.
It is interesting.
So, what are some of the good parts and bad parts of this argument, do you think?
Oh dear. Well, I do appreciate the fact that he's saying if you are a judge, you need to keep calm.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had a judge who, even if the populace was taking, if they thought that he was acting out of anger, then it's a personal matter, and then you can have no justice.
Right. Very true.
So, to control your emotions as a magistrate, yes, you must do that in order to actually have justice. Because even if you are judging today, you could be judged tomorrow.
What about what he says of us being as the magistrate and as the judge who does not hold this anger? What about that?
It's part of like what I was already like going down. It's you cannot do justice without, whether you're the magistrate or whether you're not a magistrate, if you are just knee-jerk reacting.
Mm.
And if you recognize that as a bad quality in a judge, you do not want that for the populace either.
Mm.
just because you don't hold those responsibilities to, say, your society. In a way you do, because it's like, even if you haven't sworn or you haven't made that kind of job placement, for lack of a better term,
Right.
If you go through your life reacting to everything, you're never going to know justice. And it's kind of like the Socrates thing. I would punish you, but I'm angry.
Right.
It you really can't make those judgments when you're that angry.
Yep. Indeed. So, when considering the responsibilities and ability to be judges ourselves as adults, we have to take on a certain responsibility with that, right?
Right.
Because if we really care about justice, then stifling our anger, or at least allowing it to pass before passing judgment, is definitely a necessary thing. Because if you jump the gun and you're wrong, then you're an asshole, right? Or you could have circumstances that get totally out of your control because you made that one outburst of anger.
Well, not only that, but if you are seen as someone who is that type of person, who's going to trust your judgment?
Right.
If you're known as a hothead,
right.
If you're known as an irrational person, even if you have a moment of calmness and you're trying to seek out judgment, it's like, well, you overreact anyway.
Yeah.
So how are we going to trust your judgment? How are we going to ever be on your side if you're a hothead?
Right. It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, right? If you're getting angry and flying off the handle at every little thing, then people are just going to be numb to your reactions.
Right. You're a drama queen. Why should we listen to you?
Exactly. Ultimately, I think that if one actually does want to take responsibility for their life, be an adult, that they should be mindful of how they respond to circumstances and other people. And then, especially in terms of reputation, right? Because people are going to talk about you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, and I see a lot of people fly off the handle because they should be talking about me. They don't have a right. Why don't they have a right to talk? See? And that's ridiculous, isn't it? Of course,
yeah.
First, they have a right to talk. They can gossip about you. They can say things that are probably even untrue. And, as long as it's not something that affects your bottom line, your business, if you have one, or something like that, then there's nothing you can do about it. It's out of your control. So, what would be the best response? Is it anger and acting crazy? Probably not.
Definitely not.
So
it doesn't bring it's like protesting. It's everything that if you're going to go out and do a protest, you want a peaceful protest.
Yes.
Because then people will listen to you if they think that you're just crazy with anger. No one's going to want to talk to you. They're going to think it's something else, that it's going to be a more complicated thing. It's going to be given like, oh, well, someone may have convinced them of this. They're not actually butthurt. They're just hysterical. And I, for lack of a better term, I said butthurt, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Butthurt is adequate, I would say.
You would think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. But to go along the same lines of the protest thing, I have seen a lot of people, make false claims about protesters, even peaceful ones. Of course, they're going to go, oh, those rioters, they're just looking for trouble. They're wanting to loot, stuff like that, which, okay, I could grant that. Maybe.
Maybe there's a small percentage.
Maybe. But if you have sincere protesters that are holding a peaceful march, you're going to have people that will claim, oh, they're being paid, oh, they need to get a job. They make all these assumptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So protesters themselves get a reputation that's out of their control.
Oh,
right?
yes. Well, it's propaganda. But...
Yeah, it's propaganda, but nonetheless, this is something that the Stoics would say, since it's out of your control, then it is something indifferent to you.
Yes.
Because what are you going to do about it? Lash out in anger?
Nope.
That's not
because if you do that, you ruin your whole cause.
Exactly. So it's best to let cooler heads prevail, as they say.
Yes.
So, what then? When the wise man is dealing with something of this kind, will his mind not be affected by it and become excited beyond its usual wont? I admit that it will. He will experience a slight and trifling emotion, for, as Zeno says, even in the mind of the wise man, a scar remains after the wound is quite healed. He will, therefore, feel certain hints and semblances of passions, but he will be free from the passions themselves. So here we're kind of revisiting, the difference between the proto-passions and passions themselves.
Exactly.
So, just to refamiliarize our audience here, proto-passions are feelings and emotions that you initially feel because of a circumstance. And the passions themselves are something that you linger in, something you hold on to, something that's prolonged, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. There is a big difference between these things. And of course, you're going to react a certain way when something shocking happens. Or, you're going to go, oh, you can't help that. That's just biological, neurological, endocrine shit, right? But
right.
after you have some time to reflect and kind of challenge those feelings, then you're able to move past them, or at least I hope so. And that's kind of the entire motivation behind us doing this series, is to highlight that there are some things that we control, and our responses to circumstances one of those things. And to respond with anger is ultimately, generally speaking, not good for you.
No.
Did you have any questions for the audience or any other thoughts?
Here's a thought. There's a fine line between love and hate. Can any of this also be applied to love?
Yes.
You love somebody, you love them, but to let love get out of control, you walk into the line of the stalker.
Yeah.
You walk into the line of inappropriate behavior. You walk into the line of creepy.
Yeah. And from the other perspective, you walk into the I'm going to tolerate abuse.
Exactly.
Because I love him. How many times have you heard from the abused woman, but I love him?
Yes, I love him. But it, challenge. Here's the challenge, though. Try to take the advice on anger and see if it fits other emotions, love, jealousy, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Insecurity, whether or not your insecurity should prevent you from having a cool head and being able to function, whether this, whether that. I think that might be useful.
Yes.
And if it doesn't change your thoughts or what you already think about these things, maybe the thought exercise in itself will be useful into understanding anger better.
Exactly. Look at you being all philosophical.
I'm not. I'm just playing with the diamond facet and seeing which one is sparkly.
These are pearls of wisdom, y'all. Don't let Faye get away with denying it. Don't let her do it.
It's just a thought experiment.
It's a brilliant one. And I think you're right. I think that when it comes to emotions, now anger is like one of the most toxic ones, though, right? But
I think it's got uses.
I mean,
it can be motivating.
It can, but
if you're not going to allow yourself to be controlled by anger, which I think a lot of people get to the point where they're just so angry, thinking isn't their thing. But if you use your anger, like, I don't like my situation, I'm going to move. I'm not going to talk to that person anymore because it's toxic.
Right.
I never leave an interaction without being angry.
Yeah, look, I think the difference is, though, when you're in that state of anger, you can't, it's nearly impossible to think clearly.
Yeah, well, think before you get there.
So it's kind of hard to do. I mean, when you're confronted with something awful, you're going to get angry. There's this Protopassions, right?
Right.
But when you're able to settle down and think clearly, then that is the time to take action. And initially, yes, it was the anger that came up. But in all honesty, I think that it is the more useful portion of that is reason, your ability to find a solution to it. The anger itself, I mean, it's a perfectly normal human reaction, right? But if you linger in there too long, all it's going to do is put you in harm's way. So, or others, you and other people. So, I think it's best to try to, hey, calm down. Remember our discussion? Oh, don't tell me to be calm. But ultimately, I mean, that's something I have to tell myself.
Well, moderation is something that I believe in. So if you're going to say calm down, as if saying be moderate with your feelings.
Yes.
It's hard to be moderate, but okay, here's an example. I might be sidetracking this a little bit, but
oh no.
I was talking to someone about the woman who died with her children in the period hut. How it was cold, so they lit some fuel and basically asphyxiated during the night.
Oh my god.
Which kind of reminds me of the ice mummies, but we won't go there. Anyway, the idea is, you can sit there and go, oh, that horrible man who did this and blah, 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 like forcing the women to sleep outside in a hut just because they're menstruating is awful. And yes, it is. But was it him? Did he have the issues about purity, or was he taught that? Was it an indoctrination? Is that fear, disgust, and need for purity part of a superstition for that area? It's like, yeah, those actions are awful. However, it is normal for their culture, and they're trying to teach people not to do that anymore because it's dangerous. Women die of snake bites during the summer, and they freeze to death during the winter, or something like this happens where they asphyxiate because they tried to keep warm. And the children died too.
Oh, that's so sad.
But it's like his fine was $27. Which equivocates to like over $3,000, 3,000 of his local funds. And his prime minister makes 30 of that local funds. $27 American is a lot of money there.
Right.
This person's going, going to flirt with starvation, with jail, with this, with that. And the problem is wrong thinking, unchallenged ideas, unhealthy traditions, unhealthy superstitions, and basically like complete ignorance of what biology is.
They're irrational, right?
Right.
Where was this at?
I think it was Nepal, one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful there, but it's so backward.
Well, a fight broke out over prayer flags a few years ago.
Ugh.
A whole bunch of things have happened. Yes, I'm into respecting the local culture, but if it ends up with people dead or violence, that's when we have to challenge ideas. And if we're going to be visiting their country, we really do need to respect local customs.
Mm-hmm.
But like there are things in moderation. If it was to approach things moderately, to share ideas, and I'm not saying indoctrinate them to think something else, but hopefully they will evolve beyond their superstitions that gets their women and children killed.
Definitely.
And that's my hope. But am I willing to just look at one individual and say that he was horrible? No. Was it horrible? Yes. Will he pay? Oh, yes, he will. But do I hate him for this? No. I actually feel a lot of pity for him, for losing his wife, for losing his children, because somewhere down the line someone decided that menstruation made someone unpure, and they had to be separated from the family during those moments.
Oh my God, that's so awful. So I did want to highlight something that, because you mentioned moderation.
Right.
So I wanted to take this opportunity to mention that the Stoics had 4 cardinal virtues, right?
Right.
One being wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage, right?
Ooh, okay.
So it ties in perfectly with what you were saying.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, as always, a lot of the stuff that we mention I'll be putting down in the description. So you'll see some links to the cardinal virtues and stuff like that in the description. And Faye, if you would, I would like an article linking to that instance that you were discussing, so I can also put it down there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where you're just like, oh no.
That's awful.
But that's not the only culture that has the concept of the period hut.
Yeah, that's been a custom for thousands of years.
Okay, yeah, it was Nepal. It was a Nepalese woman and her children die in hut after being banished for menstruating. And then her newborn was with her. So, because of course you're not going to separate children from their mom.
Yeah.
You know, especially if she's breastfeeding or something like that. So the baby died too.
What are they? The United States?
You know, it makes you wonder. But yeah, I just sent you the link.
Thank you. I'm awful.
It's disgusting, and they are trying to modernize a bit out there in Nepal. You know, it is illegal to do this, but there are some communities that are far out of reach of you know, the more populated areas that still practice this, and not just individual households. You're talking about whole communities.
Wow, that's awful.
Yeah, it is. It's
so awful.
It's terrifying, actually.
Definitely terrifying. Well, since I think we're at the end of this, let's end it on a terrifying note, shall we?
Oh no! Well, it's food for thought.
Yeah.
And it made me look up different cultures that do the practice of period huts, and also the concept of purity. What is purity according to some cultures, and etc.? What is purity when it comes to women? What is purity when it comes to men, etc.? I went down a lot of rabbit holes last night, like challenging myself, not just to. I'm not saying I let this guy off on the guilt, because I think he's going to be consumed by his own guilt and loneliness.
Mm.
And I'm sure his family is going to be very unhappy with him too.
Yeah,
And
of
I know
course.
the government is unhappy with him, but like, to understand what is actually going on, it's an unhealthy practice in the population. It's not like he decided to chain someone in his basement, or he's the only one doing this. This is a practice that has been in his culture for a very long time.
Mm. Yeah, so it's really difficult to. It's like whenever you come into contact with people who are indoctrinated and that behave in certain ways that is like, oh, yikes.
Happens daily.
It does. It does. Like if they have a certain opinion of homosexuals or women or
Or
etc.
they need a special symbol by all their doorways in order to feel safe and comfortable in their home.
Yeah, yeah, and that would be something that we would look at as weird, right? But
Right.
that
There are, what is it? In certain woo practices, women do things with menstrual blood and mark their doorways.
yeah, you don't want to know what.
I know, I've heard all about period cookies.
There's actually like this spell. There's this love spell where
Ew!
the woman puts her period blood in their food or drink to get them to
Oh,
fall in love and stay with them and be like faithful. Yeah,
that just sounds spiteful.
yeah, it's awful. It's so awful. But there's also like a lot of like moon goddess kind of rituals and stuff like that that they use it for.
Okay.
So I mean, it's not all horrible, but it's all ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but it's also something I'd like to talk to you about on my channel.
Oh boy. Well, just to be clear, the period blood use thing is not something I ever did. Just to clarify, I just know
Matt,
about
it's safe to eat the food.
it. Yeah, don't worry.
Oh,
Like
that's so funny.
I did ridiculous things, but I had a limit at least. Like I said, thank you very much, Wonder Lady, for coming back and doing the Seneca with me.
Thank you
And
for having me, although I feel like I let you down because I'm not exactly like that great at the whole philosophy thing, and I'm also not that great at controlling my own passions and proto-passions.
that's everyone.
It's not that I
Seriously,
don't try, it's just I can be extremely unreasonable, and I know it.
me
I'll
too.
own that.
Me too. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all. I mean, you're trying. A lot of people out there, most people out there, don't even think about this stuff.
Oh,
Or they'll think about it in passing and not even try to put it in practice. Right? So I
oh,
think
thank you.
I think you're wonderful. And I appreciate you.
Right back at you. But hopefully, we get really good audience responses for this, because, like, I, for one, really wasn't. I'm not kidding. I do want to know what you think about other emotions and this type of advice, and whether or not you think it's useful or not,
Me
whether or
too.
not it's applicable.
Yes. That's a wonderful question. But yeah, subscribe to Wonder Lady. I'm going to leave her channel and her Patreon in the description. And I also wanted to give a shout out to my lovely patrons.
Yay! You have some?
I have some.
I'm not surprised, but I am because it's so brand new. You're so lucky.
I am. I'm very hashtag
You
blessed.
deserve it.
I'm
you worked really hard.
I'm hashtag blessed, right?
You did not. Oh. You're the cutest thing. Okay.
But yeah, thank you very much to my patrons. I'm going to have a special thing made out for y'all at the end of the video. I so appreciate your support. It means so much to me. I was surprised at the encouragement and support that I've received, and I'm taken back by it.
You're wonderful. What the?
Oh, thank you.
I've been trying to get it through. You are wonderful. You're absolutely wonderful. You deserve this.
I am absolutely stubborn, so.
That too.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and you have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.
Special thank you to all my lovely patrons. I so appreciate your support. Also, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can get notifications. Thank you.